The executive order temporarily banned entry for all refugees and visitors from 7 mainly Muslim countries, until it was halted last week. Judge Richard Clifton asked whether it could be discriminatory if it affected only 15% of the world's Muslims. He is one of 3 judges on the appeals court in San Francisco, which will make its ruling later this week. There was an hour of oral arguments from both sides on Tuesday. Whatever the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals decides, the case will probably end up in the Supreme Court. What Trump team has said about Islam. Banned, an Iraqi family's immigration story. Is the U.S. heading for a constitutional crisis? Is Trump's immigration order legal? What did the 2 sides argue at the appeals court? The Justice Department was first to make its case, urging the appeal judges to reinstate the banning order. Lawyer August Flinch said Congress had authorized the president to control who can enter the country. When asked to point to evidence that the 7 countries affected, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen, present a risk to the U.S., he said a number of Somalis in the U.S. had been connected to the Al-Shabaab group. Then a lawyer representing Washington state told the court that halting the executive order had not harmed the U.S. government. Solicitor General Noah Purcell said the ban had affected thousands of residents of the state, with students delayed as they tried to come to Washington and others prevented from visiting family abroad. A Muslim ban or not? The final minutes of the hearing were spent on whether the travel ban amounted to a shutout for Muslims, which would be unconstitutional. A 15-page brief issued by the Justice Department on Monday night argued the executive order was neutral with respect to religion. But in court on Tuesday, Mr. Purcell cited Mr. Trump's campaign statements about a Muslim ban. He also pointed to statements made by one of the president's advisors, Rudy Giuliani, who said he was asked to come up with a way of making a Muslim ban work legally. Mr. Clifton said the ban only covered 7 countries, and they were identified by the Obama administration and Congress as deserving of visa restrictions, based on a terror threat. He asked, "Do you assert that decision by the previous administration and Congress as religiously motivated?" "No," Mr. Purcell answered, but President Trump had called for a complete ban, and although this was not a complete ban, it was discriminatory. What did the executive order do? Its main components were nationals from Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, even those with visas, banned from entering the U.S. A temporary ban on all refugee admissions. The reprioritization of minority religion, interpreted to mean Christian, refugee claims. A ban on all Syrian refugees. A cap on total annual refugee admissions to the U.S. of 50,000. It came into force on January 25 and caused some confusion at U.S. and foreign airports because people were stopped from boarding planes or prevented from entering the U.S., and sent home. There was strong condemnation, and it was halted last Friday by a federal judge in Washington state. As a result, people from the 7 countries with valid visas were able to travel to the U.S. again. Washington state, Minnesota, and other states want the appeals court in San Francisco to permit the temporary restraining order to stand as their lawsuit works its way through the courts. Polls suggest that U.S. public opinion is sharply divided on the issue.